We got a patch tailor-made. Balance changes. I mean, it is about that time. Usually, I don't want to say that they're always going to do this, but typically after a major set release, there are balance changes like a month after, roughly. But that's what the trend has been. So I don't think it's not happened yet. All right. So when Homecoming was released, Huru had been last place among 2 faction combinations for the majority of the past year. Really? Not Elysian? No, they're right. Elysian Mall. Elysian Mall. That was the thing. Even Stone Scar was not a thing, but probably got played more than Huru did. And also found. Anyway, okay. One of our targets for this year was to give Huru enough tools to finally get a chance to be a major player in the meta. While we accomplished this goal, some of its strongest endgame cards have less wide of a range of counterplay than we'd like. To this end, our primary focus for this set of changes was increasing breadth of satisfying counterplay against Huru rather than just taking away power. Nerfs. Koravyat Palace. Now, when you play a unit with 4 strength or more, it gets Aegis. Was your units with 4 strength or more have endurance. Withstand. Now gives endurance. Was Aegis. They just flipped it. Oh, I don't think I've ever seen this. Like in any card game. Where they just flip abilities. Wow. Okay. Okay, so Withstand now gives endurance, and it was Aegis. Svetya's Sanctum is now 6 cost double justice instead of 5 double justice. Martyr's Chains is now 9 instead of 8. Still quad justice. Okay. So on Koravyat Palace and Withstand, while we're comfortable with Koravyat Palace's general overall power level and having a big place in the metagame, after carefully monitoring analytics and player experience, we have determined that Koravyat Palace needed a tweak. While we expect it to continue to be strong, we believe swapping Endurance and Aegis between Withstand and the passive ability of the Palace will meaningfully open up the range of counterplay available. Withstand granting both Aegis and Endurance immediately to the same unit, as well as the large stat buff, made for a very narrow range of possible answers, with very little time to try to pull them off. It also meant little risk for the player using the Palace, as the investment was so protected. Additionally, giving your entire team Endurance made the site too difficult to actually attack in the majority of game states. Our hope is that this new passive will remain strong, but will space the advantage out over time, making it less overwhelming the turn it's played. While Koravyat Palace should now be more realistic to attack, it will now be more important to attack it in order to limit the effect generated by its new passive. I could see that. Because every 4 strength unit coming down is going to have Aegis. It's like, you're gonna have all these, sticky units that you can't, Sorry. I felt the same way about Zareth. I didn't have, any less respect, but, I felt the same way. I was like, nah. Until I see it happen, y'all won't do it. I had that mentality. Like, do it, you won't. That was my mentality. Do it, you won't. But they did. So, PogChamp. Palace only is above when you play a unit. It doesn't apply to units that were on the board before for the Aegis part. Yeah. It's when you play a unit. Not Not your units with 4 strength or more, like automatically. Like you have to play any units you play afterwards get the Aegis, not the ones you already have on the board. Can they revert the hurler nerf now? Wait, what? Okay, we gotta keep going. We gotta keep going. Chat's gonna spoil me. I haven't seen this whole thing yet. I have not read the rest of this or seen it. Okay, Svetya's Sanctum and Martyr Chains. While we appreciate the new strategies opened up by these powerful relics, they were primary driving forces behind a recent dramatic increase in the prevalence of nearly unitless strategies. While these strategies are an acceptable part of the overall range of Eternal, they have climbed to such a popularity level and are repetitive enough in their play that we needed to take action. While increasing the cost of each of these relics by 1 is a big change, we do not believe these nerfs will completely knock the cards off the map. Instead, they will hopefully be more role players and less format defining pillars. While the biggest feature of this patch's nerfs is the reworking of Haru, we also wanted to make a couple other changes that we believe were contributing to the suppression of aggressive and relic-based strategies. Nerfs. Vicious Highwayman now costs 5 and is a 5/3 instead of 4 being a 4/2, but the influence stays the same. Double Fire, Double Shadow. Amaranth Stinger was a 2/4, is now a 2/3. Boar. Now each copy increases the cost by 1. Was 0. That's a Reddit nerf. That's a Reddit. That boar nerf is a Reddit nerf. 100%. I mean, it's not just Reddit. People were saying it all throughout the community. So I'll just say it's a community nerf. You know how many people like suggested that? It is a good nerf. That I think if they were gonna nerf boar, out of all the suggestions people made on the internet, that was the one I agreed with the most. So Stinger, yes, can be torched now, which is insane. God, Stinger isn't nearly as good now. That's really bad. Yeah, I think this just knocks Stinger off entirely. I don't know. Like, Charge is still really good. Chains is... I think Chainbray is still fine with Chains going to 9. I think it can still be fine, but I don't know, like, they stopped running Pit. Mainly because it costs 9. But also, Pit's not as powerful as Chains. So, I don't know. I think it costing the same as Pit is fair. But Chainbray might still be okay. I mean, people still did it though, Zareth. Like, Genev still played Kayla's Choice over Boar. Genev actually stopped playing Boar a while ago. Like, some people still do it, but like, the vast majority of lists I see that do well run Kayla's Choice and not Boar. Yeah, I think that was to hit, like, non-ramp decks that were running it. Like, control decks. Or, like, big mid-range decks that ran Chains in the market. Like, you saw those. You still see those around. So now, those decks will definitely not run Chains, I don't think. That's what I predict anyway. Anywho. So, Vicious Highwayman. While Fast Aggro has started to make a comeback, we believe few cards incidentally suppress 1-drops like a turn 4 Vicious Highwayman. This change isn't a pure nerf, as the stats are larger, changing which cards it lines up against. Our hope is that this change will increase diversity among both 4-drops and 5-drops while giving aggressive strategies a little more time before the Highwayman comes down. Also, they're trying to actually buff aggro, which is kind of hilarious. Because you're nerfing Stone Scar aggro by making this change. But Stone Scar aggro is not the only Stone Scar deck that ran Highwayman. A lot of mid-range decks ran Highwayman too. Like aggressive mid-range. Like some FJS lists in the past ran Highwayman. Stone Scar mid now runs Highwayman. Yeah, that's true, Zyreth. It is. Relics were less dominant. There wasn't a reason to, like, run boar because you weren't killing more than one relic anyway. Usually. Boar still kind of felt like that even now in this meta. Because, like, the control decks, like... You're usually not hitting 2 relics off of Hero control. You're just not. They're going to play Sanctum and then they'll just ride that out to win the game. Most players. They're not going to play, like, Sanctum and Chains usually. Because usually you only need 1 to win the game. So Boar only hits 1 thing anyway. But, okay, Amaranth Stinger. While Amaranth Stinger has a lot of good gameplay that goes along with it, its impact on turn 3 was greatly restricting the range of 2-drops that were reasonable to run. Our hope is that this change will lead to a little more diversity among 3-drops and time decks. Huh. Don't they mean restricting the range of 3-drops that were reasonable to run? I'm going to assume that's what was meant. I mean, I could see 2-drops too for other decks, but I think they meant 3-drops. Like non-time decks. Because it did a... Stinger actually does affect that. As a 2-4, there are certain 2-drops in non-time decks that you will not run. Like, I'm thinking Rakano Outlaw. Outlaw's still not going to see play, but that's just, like, an example of a 2-drop that we saw a lot of in the past that doesn't get run now. Amaranth Stinger just... Outlaw has more problems than Amaranth Stinger, obviously, but... Yeah, that gets nerfed a bit. The boar trick with the 8 merchants. The 2 ones for 1 are trash. That's every 1-drop. You're right, as far as Highwayman. Alright, Boar. Boar has been a popular form of attachment removal since its debut and a powerful market option since the debut of the merchants. While we want players to have satisfying interaction against opposing cards of all varieties, Boar has proven too efficient against both individual attachments and decks focused around relics and curses. With this change, we are hoping to create more competition among cards in fire markets while giving more room for attachment center strategies to emerge. I'm not against that either. Note, as Corviot Palace and Boar are only available from the Homecoming and Dead Reckoning campaigns and fall outside of our normal system for refunding crafted cards, we are giving a one-time grant of a 1,250 gold to users who purchase the campaigns. Users with both will receive 2,500 gold. Users who upgrade the Homecoming campaign will receive an additional 1,250 gold. Look for the upgraded Dead Reckoning campaign coming next week. I was actually waiting for that campaign to upgrade. Players will, of course, keep all their copies of Corviot Palace and Boar. That's the important thing. What were they going to do for people that bought those campaigns and got their cards nerfed? So, let's see. I bought Premium Homecoming, and I have non-Premium Dead Reckoning, obviously, because there is no Premium Dead Reckoning yet. So, I get 3,750 gold. Okay. I kind of wish we got a little more than that, but, I mean, given how much it would cost to make premiums of campaign cards in those adventures, but, you know, I won't, I'll keep a neutral stance on this. You had both upgraded? No, you didn't have Dead Reckoning upgraded. That's for sure. Because Dead Reckoning upgrade doesn't exist. It is not there. Unless you individually upgraded the card yourself with Shiftstone. Because the Premium Dead Reckoning campaign isn't even out yet. It's coming out next week. That's the one people have been asking for. They want that one next. The ones that already, like, they upgraded Jex Bounty and Horus Traver. Those are the only two with the upgrade option right now. But Dead Reckoning's been the next one. Okay. So, we have a lot of buffs. I know people in chat are already mentioning stuff. I've purposely not read it. Yeah, like the newer ones Taylor made, those are. Because they introduced the upgrade in, what was it, chat? It wasn't this one. It wasn't Homecoming. It was the one before that. It was, Into Shadow. That's when they first started offering to, buy them already upgraded with all premium cards, was Into Shadow. When they did that, you know, none of the earlier ones you could do that. Like, you had to buy the normal ones, and if you wanted premium cards, you had to use Shiftstone. So ever since Into Shadow came out, they started backtracking. They started with Jack's Bounty. And then they did Horus Traver, and now they're going to do Dead Reckoning next. And after Dead Reckoning, they'll be caught up. Which I can't wait for. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't even upgraded Horus Traver yet. But just the fact that the option is there. Anyway. In addition to the 7 nerfs above, we are making 12 buffs targeting a few primary areas. To begin with, we wanted to increase support for shift-related strategies. Okay, this is good. Buffs. Adolescent Deathjaw now shifts for 3, was 4. Crooked Alley Guide is now a 3/3, was a 3/2. Expedition Leader now costs 2 time, was 3 time. And Tantrum now costs 2 fire, was 3 fire. These changes may have ranked implications, but they also add a few points to fire time and shadow in draft. I think that's mainly what it's gonna do. Like, none of these saw play in Constructed. And it's not because of their shift cost. It's just because of what they do. Yeah, Deathjaw only works on an already exhausted unit. I need to even see what does Crooked Alley Guide even do? Okay. It's 3 power, 1 shadow. 3/2. When it comes into play, you scout, and it has shift 1. So now it's a 3 power, 3/3. Nothing else changes. Actually, Expedition Leader might be the thing that has the most implication for Constructed. Because people actually people have messed with Expedition Leader. Because it's like when something emerges, you draw 2 cards. Like, people, you know, card game players love drawing cards. They'll play something bad if it draws cards. So, hence even-handed Golem. I'm not saying even-handed Golem's bad, but I'm just giving the example that people are willing to bend over backwards to play cards that draw more cards. As long as it gives you at least +1 card advantage. That's all I'm saying. I'm not actually saying even-handed Golem's a bad card. I'm just saying the lengths that people will go to. Anywho. Yeah, I think Leader is probably the most likely to have ranked implications. They do, Joxer. I think we need more playable shift cards. Alright, so in order to help preserve and even improve faction balance and draft, we are also making the following changes to Tour Primal's commons. Elder Meditant is now a 2/2 instead of a 1/2. Okay. Meditant trades a little better now. Although that's not what I would draft it for. You draft it for the twist ability. But hey. Murderous Flock is now a 4/3 instead of a 3/3. I like that change. Because I feel like in the few drafts I have done, Murderous Flock, I thought it had a lot of potential to be good, and like when I actually play it, it's like not that great. Like, your draft really has to work out. You really have to be able to, like, the Scout Matters thing has to work out for Flock to really be good. But I like the change. Where's Street Urchin buff? I think Urchin's already pretty good. I think it could stand to get buffed. But I think it's not terrible. I don't think Alley Guide would, Chris. I think Leader probably would before Alley Guide does. I think the fact that it's a 3-3 now, that is pretty good. But I think it would need more help than that. I think if it was a 3-4, then people would consider it. But as a 3-3, I don't think they will. I think it's a solid draft card for sure. It's solid and limited. But I don't think it quite gets... I still think it doesn't get there in Constructed. Okay, so the next area we wanted to target for a few buffs was with ranked build-arounds. The following 4 cards were already attractive enough to spawn new fringe archetypes, and we'd like to see more of them. Ow. As such, we've decided to add a little bit of rate to each of these key cards. Okay, so Lurai, I know someone mentioned Lurai earlier. The Appraiser now twists for 2 instead of 3. That's good. Perilous Research, Alarming Findings. Alarming Findings now cost 7 double time instead of 8. Tazbu the Forbidden now also counts itself. Was when one of your other units dies. PogChamp. PogChamp. It's funny we were talking about Tazbu earlier and that they should add shift to protect it. But actually, I was thinking about Tazbu just like a week or 2 ago. And I was like, man, I really wish Tazbu counted himself. And that it didn't have to be one of your other units. Because we always said, like, Tazbu was... Like, okay, Tazbu has a target on his back. Like, when Tazbu hits the board, you force your opponent to kill Tazbu first. Which is not terrible, but you don't really get extra value out of... You just trade 1 for 1. And for a legendary, that's a 5-drop that doesn't do anything else when it hits play. Especially if you don't warp it. It's like... kind of ew. The biggest Dark Wisp you've ever seen. Hey, man. Is Mystic Ascendant not the biggest Temple Scribe you've ever seen? Is that not true? Yeah, at least Tazbu replaces itself. Now, I don't think Tazbu is going to be, like, everywhere. Because it is, like, now it's a 5-mana Dark Wisp. That's a 6/6. But at least it's not worse than that. That it can be 5 Temple Scribes, but the reality is it's 1. Almost every time you will play Ascendant, you will play Power, you will draw a card, it'll be a 6/6. You will pass it back to your opponent, and they will kill it. Immediately. That is what happens. Almost every time. Final. Okay. Zumacan is the 7/7. I just got so excited about Tazbu that I almost skipped Zumacan. That's good. 7/7's fine. He was already decent as a 6/6. He saw more play than Tazbu. Now it might flip. Tazbu might see more play than Zumacan now. We'll see. Just depends. In your Eventime Golem deck? Yeah, I mean, if they don't have removal, it is a must-answer threat, but people have answers, usually. They just do in general. Especially if, you know, you're waiting 7 turns to even do that, because you're not going to play Ascendant on 6 and then not empower it right away. You can empower it right away if you play it on 6. You have to wait till turn 7 and then play power behind it. So usually, like, opponents have had 7 turns to draw a removal spell. Nerf the buff, however you want to put it. Finally, our last couple changes are aimed at increasing the ease of use of a couple new forms of interaction for markets. Bam Sneaky Peeky now shifts for 3 instead of 4. I like that change. You know, Bam was already decent, but I welcome that. And Incendiary Slagmite now costs 2 fire instead of 2 double fire. That I like. The range of possible ways to interact with markets is already so small, we felt making some of them a little easier to use would be a step in the right direction for opening up the range of possible counterplay options for players. But why didn't you buff Pony Snatcher, though? I don't care, actually. You keep forgetting to put Bam in your Yeti deck? Well, because there's other Yetis. You want to play Thudrock, too. Thudrock's quite good. You just kind of forget about Bam. It's already decent? Nah, it's not. Pony Snatcher's a terrible card. I think Slagmite's better than Pony Snatcher. IMO. You're kind of upset that they randomly killed Haunted Highway? How did they kill Haunted Highway? What did they do? Now I have to look and see, like... What? Oh, Highwayman. Yeah, that destroys it. That would do it. We have to find another Scream deck. I don't know, I keep working on this, like, Elysian Scream thingy. I know Eric was doing that, too. He had a teacher Scream list. But that was before Dark Frontier came out. Yeah. Like, that does kind of suck, because I think Haunted Highway is actually, like... People like to say it's not a big brain deck. That, it's aggro. Like, there's just this mindset that aggro is just easy to play no matter what it looks like. When in reality, Haunted Highway is harder to play than almost every mid-range deck in this game that's ever existed. And it's probably harder than a few control decks, too. Like, Scream is just a whole different animal. So even when you're building it super aggressive like Haunted Highway is, it's still, like, tough to play. I think they were about the same power level, if you ask me, in that deck. Highwayman and Bandit Queen. Queen is better than Highwayman in some scenarios, and I think other scenarios Highwayman is better than Queen. It just depends on the game state. That's all. I think they're like roughly the same power-wise. Screaming Golems is pretty fun. Yeah, it's pretty annoying. I think even Felon's probably the best deck of all the even decks. Like, I think it's better than anything Xenon can do, and better than anything anybody else has tried to do. Even Felon and, like, by extension, Even Hour. So, okay.